Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to share and subscribe the channel. The lab hummed with energy, oscillating waves of blue-green light pulsing across holographic displays as Dr. Jackson Reed adjusted the final calibrations on the consciousness scanner. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the lab's climate control. This was his life's work, the culmination of 15 years of research into cross-species neural mapping. "Recorder on," he mumbled, voice raspy from 36 sleepless hours. Test subject appears stable. Neural connectivity at 97%. Beginning final alignment sequence for species integration test alpha. Across the room, restrained by nothing but her own curiosity, Ambassador Navarra of Celsus watched with 6 gleaming eyes. Her scaled, iridescent skin caught the light as she shifted her weight, the movement causing ripples along her elongated torso. Unlike humans with their rigid skeletal structures, Celsians possessed a semi-fluid internal support system, more cartilage than bone, allowing for impossible contortions. "Your technology seems primitive," she said, voice like crystal wind chimes. "Are you certain this is safe, Dr. Reed?" Jackson didn't look up from his console. "Safe enough for preliminary mapping. We won't attempt full neural linkage today." A lie, but a necessary one. The Celsian diplomatic corps would never have approved his actual experiment. "Just relax and think of it as a cultural exchange." Navarra settled into the containment field, her body naturally folding into a meditation pose humans would find impossible to achieve. 3 arms on each side of her torso folded inward while her neck elongated slightly to maintain visual contact with Reed. "The ascendancy sent me to understand humans," she said. "Though I must admit, your biological limitations fascinate me. So rigid. So confined." Jackson's fingers hesitated over the activation sequence. "Confined? Your consciousness," Navarra clarified, blinking her 6 eyes in sequence, a Celsian expression of amusement. "Trapped in bodies that cannot bend, cannot flow, cannot resonate with the cosmic frequencies. How do you stand it?" "We manage," Jackson muttered, pressing the final sequence. The room's lights dimmed as power redirected to the neural scanner. Bright pulses of energy surrounded Navarra's form, mirrored by a similar field engulfing Jackson's monitoring station. Something was wrong. The energy reading spiked, far beyond predicted parameters. Jackson's hand slammed toward the emergency shutoff, but his muscles seized mid-motion as electricity arced between the 2 fields. "What?" Navarra's voice distorted, her body convulsing. "What have you?" Jackson couldn't respond. His vision fractured, consciousness splintering like light through crystal. The last thing he heard was the facility's AI announcing a containment breach before blackness claimed him. Consciousness returned in fragments. Sensations first, wrong sensations. Weight distributed incorrectly. Limbs where limbs shouldn't be. Eyes, too few, focusing on ceiling panels from an unfamiliar angle. "Ambassador? Ambassador Navarra? Can you hear me?" The voice seemed distant. Jackson tried to respond, but his mouth, not his mouth, moved strangely. Where were his lips? His tongue felt wrong, too thin, too flexible. He tried to sit up, but his body responded in horrifying ways. Limbs, too many limbs, twitched and curled. Muscles that shouldn't exist contracted. His spine, not a spine at all, rippled in waves. What? The voice that emerged wasn't his. Crystal chimes, melodic and alien. "What happened? Why can't I?" "Please remain calm, Ambassador," said a technician Jackson recognized, Patel from engineering. "The experiment experienced complications. Dr. Reed is being attended to." Jackson's alien heart raced, not the familiar thump-thump but a rushing sensation like liquid coursing through tubes. He managed to turn his head, next, and saw what could only be his own human body across the room, convulsing on a medical bed. "That's not," he began, before the situation crashed into his consciousness like a meteor. "I'm not. His voice died as he realized the truth. The neural scanner hadn't just mapped their brains, it had switched them. His consciousness now resided in Navarra's alien form, while the human body across the room suddenly went rigid, eyes flying open. A scream erupted, primal and terrified. Technicians scrambled as the body, Navarra in Jackson's form, thrashed against restraints. "What is this?" she shrieked. "I can't move. I can't bend. What have you done to me?" Jackson tried to stand, to reach her, but Navarra's alien physiology responded unpredictably. 6 limbs moved in contradictory directions. His center of gravity shifted liquidly. He collapsed in a tangle of scaled limbs, iridescent skin flashing with bioluminescent panic signals he couldn't control. "Ambassador, please!" Patel shouted, rushing to Jackson's side. "You must remain still until we assess the situation." "I'm not the ambassador," Jackson said, the alien voice producing perfectly formed English. "I'm Reed. Jackson Reed. We've switched, the scanner switched us." Patel's face drained of color. Behind him, the security team's hands moved to their weapons. From across the room, Navarra continued to scream in Jackson's voice. "I can't sit or stand. What did you do to my body, human?" Alarm klaxons blared as the facility went into lockdown. Red emergency lights bathed the lab in crimson. Jackson heard the distinctive sound of security barriers engaging, titanium shutters sealing every exit. "Contains breach protocol engaged," announced the facility AI. "Diplomatic incident detected. Security level alpha. All personnel, prepare for emergency evacuation." Jackson's alien heart raced faster. This wasn't just a scientific disaster, it was an interstellar incident. The Celsian Ascendancy would consider this an act of war. "Listen to me," he pleaded with Patel. "You have to help us reverse this." Before the lab doors burst open, General Walcott stormed in, flanked by a full military contingent. His eyes narrowed as he surveyed the chaos, the human Reed convulsing in restraints, the Celsian diplomat collapsed in a tangle of limbs. "Secure them both," Walcott ordered. "Full quarantine protocols. And get me a direct line to the president. Tell him." The general's voice hardened. "Tell him Pandora's box just exploded." As soldiers surrounded him, Jackson realized the terrible truth. His experiment hadn't just failed, it had potentially triggered the first interstellar war in human history. And he was trapped in the body of the enemy. Navarra's consciousness slammed against the walls of her new prison, a human body with its rigid bones and inflexible joints. Every attempt to move resulted in uncoordinated thrashing. The body's single heart hammered in a grotesque rhythm while air scraped through narrow passages. How did humans live like this? "Get me out," she screamed, the unfamiliar vocal cords straining. "Release me." 4 soldiers pinned her limbs, just 4, not 6, as a medic approached with a syringe. Navarra bucked against the restraints, unused to the human body's limited strength and range of motion. "Dr. Reed, you need to calm down," the medic said, clearly misunderstanding the situation. "I am not Reed." Navarra hissed through unfamiliar teeth. "I am Ambassador Navarra of the Celsian Ascendancy. This human has violated the interspecies neural non-interference treaty. This is an act of war." Across the room, Jackson struggled with equal desperation, his consciousness trapped in Navarra's alien form. 6 limbs splayed uselessly across the floor as he attempted to coordinate movement. The semi-fluid cartilage structure felt like trying to control a body made of thick gel. "She's right." Jackson called out, the crystalline voice of the Celsian body creating perfect harmonics despite his panic. "I'm Dr. Reed." The consciousness transfer was unintentional, a power surge in the neural scanner. General Walcott looked between them, eyes narrowing with military calculation. "Secure them both in separate containment units. Level 5 protocols." He turned to the chief technician. Patel, I want full neural scans of both subjects. Confirm this, switch. Soldiers approached Jackson, weapons raised. He tried again to stand, to appear less threatening, but Navarra's alien physiology responded unpredictably. 3 eyes focused on the approaching humans while the other 3 rolled wildly, attempting to track movement behind him, a disorienting split in perception that made his head swim. Please, Jackson pleaded, don't separate us. We need to work together to reverse the process. Silence, creature, one soldier hissed, prodding him with an electrified restraint pole. Pain lanced through Jackson's borrowed nervous system, different from human pain, more like liquid fire racing through his semi-fluid structure. He collapsed completely, limbs contorting in ways that would have been impossible for a human body. Across the room, Navarra watched with all the horror a human face could express. You fools! Do you have any idea what you're doing? That body has diplomatic immunity. If you harm it. The medic's syringe found her arm, injecting a powerful sedative. Navarra's borrowed consciousness fought the chemical invasion, but human biology betrayed her. Darkness crept in from the edges as the drug took effect. Take them away, Walcott ordered. Navarra woke in a sterile containment cell, strapped to a medical bed. The human body felt heavy, constrained, its senses dull. Only 2 eyes with limited peripheral vision. Only 2 ears that couldn't detect subsonic vibrations. A nose that barely registered chemical signatures. It was like being partially dead. Ambassador Navarra. She turned to see General Walcott standing beyond a transparent barrier. Beside him stood a woman in a lab coat, her face tense with concern. This is Dr. Talia Winters, our foremost xenobiologist, Walcott said. She's here to assess your condition. Navarra struggled against the restraints. Where is my body? What have you done with it? Dr. Reed, or rather, his consciousness within your form, is in secure containment, Winters replied, her voice gentler than Walcott's. Both of you are under observation until we understand what happened. What happened? Navarra snarled, the human face contorting in ways that felt unnatural. Your scientist violated interspecies law. He stole my body. The ascendancy will reduce your planet to ash when they learn of this. Winters stepped closer to the barrier. Ambassador, we believe it was an accident. The neural scanner experienced a power surge during calibration. Dr. Reed had no intention of consciousness transfer. Lies. Navarra spat, then paused as a new sensation overtook her. Wetness on her cheeks. The human body was leaking. What is this? Am I damaged? You're crying, Winters explained. It's a human physiological response to emotional distress. Disgusting, Navarra muttered, trying to wipe the tears away but restrained by the straps. Your bodies betray you constantly. How do you function with such limited control? Walcott cleared his throat. Ambassador, we need your cooperation. The Celsian delegation will be expecting contact within 8 hours. If they discover what's happened, they will declare war, Navarra finished, a bitter smile forming on the unfamiliar lips. As is their right. You have committed the ultimate violation, stealing the consciousness of a diplomatic representative. Which is why we need to fix this, Winters interjected. But we need your help. Dr. Reed designed the neural scanner. His knowledge is trapped in your body. Without both of you working together, we can't reverse the process. Navarra fell silent, considering. The human body she inhabited felt increasingly uncomfortable, muscles cramping, joints stiff, back aching from lying in one position. How did humans endure such constant discomfort? Release these restraints, she finally demanded. I need to move. Winters glanced at Walcott, who nodded reluctantly. She pressed a sequence on a nearby panel, and the restraints retracted. Navarra sat up, an awkward, ungainly motion with this inflexible spine, and swung her legs over the edge of the bed. Careful, Winters cautioned. Human motor control is different. Navarra ignored her, pushing to her feet. The human body wobbled, balance precarious on just 2 legs. She took one step, then another, marveling at the crude inefficiency of human locomotion. "This is primitive," she muttered, taking another step before her legs buckled. She crashed to the floor, pain flaring in her knees and palms. "Arg! How do you stand this existence?" "Ambassador," Winters said, her voice professionally neutral despite the situation's absurdity. "Human bodies require practice to—" "Bring me Reed," Navarra interrupted, struggling back to her feet. "In my body. I need to see what he's done to it." Walcott crossed his arms. "That's not advisable until—" "Now!" Navarra shouted, the human voice cracking with strain. "Or I will deliberately harm this body beyond repair, and your precious scientist will never return to it." The threat hung in the air. Walcott and Winters exchanged glances. "Very well," Walcott finally said. "But under controlled conditions. Dr. Winters will oversee the meeting." Navarra steadied herself against the wall, hating every moment in this limited human form. Soon she would face the thief who had stolen her body, and then she would make him pay. "One more thing," she said, glaring at Winters. "This body has additional discomforts I don't understand. A pressure in the lower abdomen. A dryness in the throat. What are these?" Winters' expression softened slightly. "You need to use the bathroom and drink water. Basic human maintenance functions." "Maintenance?" Navarra's borrowed face twisted in disgust. "You mean this body requires manual waste elimination? And regular fluid replenishment?" "I'm afraid so," Winters replied. "Welcome to humanity, Ambassador." Navarra closed her eyes, trembling with rage and existential horror. When the Ascendancy learned of this indignity, Earth's destruction would be mercifully quick. General Walcott stared at the secure communication terminal, his weathered face illuminated by the pulsing, incoming transmission alert. 27 years of military service hadn't prepared him for explaining to an alien civilization why their ambassador was currently inhabited by a human scientist. "Sir," his aide said quietly, "the Celsian High Command is demanding visual confirmation of Ambassador Navarra's status." Walcott nodded grimly. "Patch them through to Briefing Room Alpha. And get Winters in there with whoever's in Navarra's body." The screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of High Commander Ruzak of the Celsian diplomatic fleet. Unlike Ambassador Navarra's iridescent blue-green coloration, Ruzak's scales gleamed silver-black, marking him as a military caste. All 6 of his eyes narrowed simultaneously. "General Walcott," Ruzak's voice resonated with harmonic undertones. "Our scanners detect unusual activity around your neural research facility. Ambassador Navarra has missed 2 scheduled communications." "Explain." Walcott straightened his uniform. "High Commander, we've experienced a technical incident during a cultural exchange demonstration. Ambassador Navarra is unharmed but temporarily indisposed." "Unacceptable," Ruzak replied. "The ambassador's biosignature shows significant fluctuations. Our treaty requires immediate visual confirmation of her status." "Of course," Walcott agreed, silently cursing Reed and his experimental arrogance. "One moment." He signaled to his aide, who opened the door to reveal Dr. Jackson Reed in Navarra's alien body, escorted by 4 armed guards and Dr. Winters. Reed moved awkwardly, clearly still struggling with the alien physiology. The Celsian body's natural grace was gone, replaced by ungainly, hesitant movements. Ruzak's eyes widened, all 6 focusing intently on the screen. "What have you done to her?" "High Commander," Walcott began, there was an unexpected energy surge during. "That is not Navarra." Ruzak thundered, the harmonic layers of his voice nearly shattering the speakers. "Who occupies the ambassador's form? Answer truthfully or face immediate consequences." Reed stepped forward, nearly stumbling as the alien body's multiple limbs failed to coordinate properly. "Hi Commander," he said, the Celtian voice producing perfect harmonics despite his inexperience, "I am Dr. Jackson Reed. There was an accident with our neural mapping technology. The ambassador and I have exchanged consciousness." Silence fell, heavy and dangerous. On screen, Ruzak's scales darkened to a deep obsidian, a sign of extreme rage in Celtian physiology. "This," he finally said, voice deadly quiet, "is an act of war." Walcott moved quickly. "Hi Commander, we are working to reverse the process. This was an accident, not an aggressive action." "Where is Navarra's consciousness?" "In my body," Reed answered. "She's unharmed, just displaced." "Bring her," Ruzak demanded. "Now." Minutes later, Navarra was escorted into the briefing room, still awkwardly managing Reed's human body. Her movements were stiff, unnatural, human limbs moving as if she expected them to bend in ways they couldn't. "Hi Commander," she said, Reed's voice cracking with emotion. "They have violated me. My consciousness imprisoned in this limitation." "Ambassador," Ruzak's voice softened slightly with recognition despite the alien vessel she inhabited. "The Ascendancy will not tolerate this violation. The fleet stands ready to secure your return." "Wait." Reed interjected. "Hi Commander, please. Military action isn't necessary. We can reverse the process, but we need time." "Silence, body thief." Ruzak snarled. "You have precisely 48 Earth hours to restore Navarra to her proper form. If you fail, the Celtian fleet will consider this an act of consciousness theft under Section 12 of the Interspecies Treaty, and we will respond accordingly." The screen went dark. Walcott turned to Reed, barely containing his fury, 48 hours before they glass half the planet. "Fix this, Doctor." Reed nodded, the alien head bobbing unnaturally. "I'll need my research, full access to the lab, and..." He glanced at Navarra in his body, her cooperation. Navarra laughed, a harsh sound through human vocal cords. "Cooperation? You stole my existence." "It was an accident." Reed protested. "The power surge." "Enough." Walcott roared. "You two will work together, or I'll throw you both in the deepest hole I can find before the Celtians arrive to finish us all. Dr. Winters, you're in charge of this collaboration." Talia Winters stepped forward. "General, I recommend transferring them to the secondary lab at Facility Beta. If the Celtians decide not to wait 48 hours, we don't want them targeting our primary installation." Walcott nodded. "Make it happen. Full security detail. And get our tactical teams on high alert. If the Celtians make any aggressive moves, I want to know immediately." As they were escorted out, Reed tried again to reason with Navarra. "Ambassador, please. I know this is traumatic, but if we work together." "Save your breath, human," Navarra replied coldly. "Do you have any idea what you've done? The violation you've committed? In my culture, consciousness is sacred. Our bodies are merely vessels, temporary homes for our eternal essence. What you've done is worse than murder. You've committed the ultimate desecration." Reed's borrowed alien features twisted in remorse. "I never intended." "Intent means nothing," Navarra cut him off. "Results are what matter. And the result is that I, a diplomatic representative of the most advanced civilization in this sector, am trapped in this primitive, limited form while you defile my sacred vessel with your human consciousness." Dr. Winters intervened. "Ambassador, Dr. Reed's research is groundbreaking precisely because he respects the sanctity of consciousness. The scanner was designed to map neural patterns without interference, not to transfer them." "Then how did this happen?" Navarra demanded. Reed's multiple alien eyes blinked in sequence as he considered. "The power surge must have reversed the polarity of the quantum field. Instead of mapping our neural patterns, it swapped them." "Can you reverse it?" Winters asked. Theoretically, Reed answered, alien hands gesturing in odd patterns as he struggled to control the extra limbs. But I'll need to recreate the exact conditions, then invert the quantum matrix during transfer. And if you fail? Navarra asked, her borrowed human face pale. Reed didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was soft, the Celsian harmonics creating an eerie beauty at odds with his words. Then we remain trapped. Forever. The transport vehicle shuddered as it sped toward Facility Beta, carried along in a heavily armed convoy. Through the windows, Reed could see military aircraft patrolling the skies above them. Earth preparing for potential invasion. The Celsian fleet, he said quietly to Navarra. How powerful is it? Navarra looked at him with his own human eyes, a strange experience that made Reed's alien skin ripple with discomfort. They could turn your cities to ash within hours. Your weapons would barely slow them. Then we'd better get to work, Reed replied grimly. As the convoy turned onto a dusty access road, none of them noticed the sleek black vehicle that peeled away from traffic to follow them at a discreet distance. Inside, a figure checked an advanced tracking device, confirming the convoy's destination. Target acquired, the figure murmured into a secure communicator. The asset is being transported to Facility Beta. Preparing to intercept. The response came back immediately, excellent work, Operative Orion. Secure the alien consciousness at any cost. The highest bidder is waiting. Facility Beta hummed with frantic activity as technicians reassembled the neural scanner under Reed's awkward guidance. His alien fingers, too many, too flexible, struggled with the delicate calibration instruments. No, not that connection, he snapped at a lab assistant. The quantum field modulator links to the neural interface, not the power coupling. Across the lab, Navarra paced in Reed's human body, movements becoming more fluid as she adapted to its limitations. She'd been practicing basic motor functions for hours, determined to master this primitive form while it was still her prison. Your species is remarkably inefficient, she remarked, flexing her borrowed fingers. Only 2 manipulative appendages, limited joint rotation, and a spine that doesn't bend properly. Dr. Talia Winters looked up from her terminal. Yet we've managed to build interstellar ships and neural technology advanced enough to accidentally transfer consciousness. A fortunate stumble in the dark, Navarra replied dismissively. Like monkeys accidentally discovering fire. Reed ignored their banter, focusing instead on the scanner's recalibration. 2 of his alien eyes tracked the repair work while the others monitored the diagnostic screens. The multitasking capacity of the Celsian brain was remarkable, when he wasn't fighting against the unfamiliar neural pathways. Dr. Winters, he called, I need the original power surge data. We need to replicate the exact conditions that caused the transfer. Winters nodded, pulling up files on her terminal. The system recorded a spike of 7.8 terawatts at the moment of transfer. That's nearly triple our facility's total power capacity. Reed's borrowed body stiffened. That's impossible. Where did that power come from? Unknown, Winters admitted. The surge originated within the neural scanner itself, not from the external power grid. Navarra stopped pacing. That wasn't in your original description of events, human. Reed turned all 6 eyes toward her. Because I didn't know. I was unconscious during the transfer. Or you're lying, Navarra countered. Perhaps this accident was more deliberate than you claim. Before Reed could respond, the lab doors slid open. Professor Evelyn Hargrove entered, her stooped frame supported by a mechanized exoskeleton. At 78, she remained Earth's foremost expert on quantum neurology. I came as soon as I heard, she said, eyes darting between Reed's alien form and Navarra in Reed's body. Fascinating. Simply fascinating. Professor, Reed said, relief evident in his harmonized voice. Thank you for coming. Hargrove approached him, studying the Celsian physiology with unabashed scientific curiosity. Dr. Reed, I presume. Your consciousness transfer technology works better than I expected. It wasn't supposed to work at all, Reed protested. It was meant to map neural patterns, not transfer them. And yet here we are, Hargrove replied, turning to examine Navarra. And you must be the ambassador. How are you adapting to human neurology? Poorly, Navarra answered curtly. Your species' neural architecture is painfully simple. Like attempting to perform a symphony with a single string. Hargrove chuckled. Simple, perhaps, but resilient. Now, let me see what we're working with. She spent the next hour reviewing the scanner's specifications and the data from the incident. Her expression grew increasingly troubled. The power surge originated from within the scanner itself, she finally said. But that's theoretically impossible unless... Unless what? Reed prompted. Unless the scanner was tampered with, Hargrove finished. Dr. Reed, did you build in a consciousness transfer protocol without informing your team? What? No. Reed's alien form rippled with indignation. That would violate every ethical principle of my research. Navarra made a sound suspiciously like a snort. Ethics didn't stop you from stealing my body. I didn't steal anything. Reed protested. I'm a victim here too. Children, please, Hargrove interrupted. Assigning blame won't solve our problem. We need to focus on replicating the transfer conditions. And where will we get 7? 8 terawatts of power? Winters asked. Hargrove's eyes gleamed. We don't need to generate it externally. If my theory is correct, the scanner itself generated the power through quantum resonance. A feedback loop between your two consciousness patterns. Reed's alien features contorted as he processed this. You're suggesting our minds resonated? Precisely, Hargrove confirmed. Ambassador Navarra's consciousness operates on quantum principles fundamentally different from human neurology. When the scanner attempted to map both simultaneously, it created a quantum entanglement effect. Impossible, Navarra said. Celsian consciousness safeguards prevent external entanglement. Unless, Reed interjected, multiple eyes widening with realization, the safeguards were already compromised. All eyes turned to him. Ambassador, he continued carefully, had you undergone any unusual medical procedures before arriving on Earth? Navarra's borrowed face paled. The diplomatic corps required a neural immunization before contact with humans. A standard procedure to prevent consciousness contamination. Or so they told you, Reed said gently. What if that immunization actually modified your neural safeguards? Made you compatible with human consciousness transfer? The implications hung in the air like a storm cloud. If Reed was right, someone had deliberately set up the conditions for this disaster. We need to investigate this immediately, Hargrove declared. Dr. Winters, pull up Ambassador Navarra's medical records from her arrival screening. That's classified diplomatic data, Navarra objected. Which becomes unclassified when interplanetary war is at stake, Winters countered, already accessing the secure files. The lab fell silent as Winters worked, the only sound the soft hum of equipment and the occasional click of Reed's alien claws against the console as he attempted to assist. Here, Winters finally said, projecting a neural scan onto the main display. Ambassador Navarra's arrival screening shows unusual quantum activity in her cerebral cortex equivalent. Different from standard Celsian patterns in our database. Hargrove studied the scans. Someone modified your neural architecture, Ambassador. Specifically to make it compatible with human consciousness transfer technology. Who would do this? Navarra demanded, Reed's human face flushing with anger. And why? Before anyone could answer, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red emergency lights bathed the lab as security barriers slammed into place. Perimeter breach, announced the facility AI. Unknown hostiles have infiltrated the outer security ring. All personnel initiate lockdown procedures. General Walcott's voice came over the intercom. Dr. Winters, secure the subjects. We have multiple intruders approaching your position. Military response is en route. Winters moved quickly, opening a concealed panel in the wall. This way. There's a secure bunker beneath the lab. What about the scanner? Reed asked, his alien limbs already gathering essential components. Without it, we'll never reverse the transfer. Bring what you can carry, Winters ordered. Move. As they hurried toward the emergency exit, the main lab doors exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris stepped a tall figure in black tactical gear, face obscured by an advanced infiltration mask. Behind him, similarly equipped operatives spread out, weapons raised. Dex Orion, Winters breathed, recognition and fear in her voice. Black market tech broker. Dr. Winters, the figure replied, his modulated voice unnervingly calm. A pleasure to finally meet you in person. Now, if you'll kindly hand over the alien consciousness, my employers are quite eager to examine it. Reed stepped forward, his Celsian body towering over the human intruders. I am Dr. Jackson Reed, not Ambassador Navarra. Oh, we know exactly who you are, Doctor, Orion replied. Or rather, whose body you're currently occupying. It's the consciousness we're interested in, both of yours, actually. Reed's alien body tensed, multiple limbs instinctively shifting into a defensive posture he didn't consciously know how to form. Who sent you? The highest bidder, Orion answered simply. The first human-alien consciousness transfer is worth billions on the black market. Think of the applications: espionage, interrogation, immortality. Hargrove stepped forward, her exoskeleton whirring. You're making a mistake, Orion. The transfer was accidental, and we have less than 40 hours before the Celsian fleet arrives to retrieve their ambassador. I'm counting on it, Orion replied, gesturing to his team. The impending interspecies war makes my clients even more motivated. Imagine, consciousness transfer weapons that can turn enemy soldiers against their own kind. As the mercenaries advanced, Professor Hargrove suddenly collapsed, her exoskeleton emitting a high-pitched whine. The distraction was momentary, but Reed seized it, his alien body moving with instinctive grace he hadn't yet mastered consciously. 3 arms grabbed components of the neural scanner while the other 3 shoved Navarra and Winters toward the emergency exit. Run! Gunfire erupted behind them as they fled through the narrow corridor. Reed's alien body barely fit through the human-sized passage, scales scraping against the walls as he awkwardly propelled himself forward. The bunker is 50 meters ahead, Winters called, supporting Hargrove. Emergency lockdown protocols will seal it against any intrusion. They burst into a circular chamber with a heavy blast door on the far side. Winters slammed her palm against the biometric scanner, and the door began to close, too slowly. Orion's team was already visible in the corridor behind them. Go! Reed shouted, pushing the others through the narrowing gap. I'll hold them off. Don't be stupid, Navarra snapped, grabbing him with her borrowed human hands. If you die in my body, I'll be trapped in yours forever. With a final heave, they tumbled through the doorway just as the blast door sealed shut. Impact sounds echoed from the other side as Orion's team attempted to breach it. That won't hold for long, Winters said, helping Hargrove to a chair. They have military-grade breaching equipment. Reed set down the scanner components with careful, deliberate movements. Then we need to work quickly. Professor, can you help me reassemble the essential elements? Hargrove nodded, her breathing labored. The quantum resonator and neural interface are the critical components. Everything else we can improvise. As they worked, Navarra paced the small bunker, Reed's human face set in concentration. Something doesn't make sense, she said. How did Orion know about the transfer? This facility is supposed to be top secret. Excellent question, Winters replied, accessing a secure terminal. The only communication about your condition was between General Walcott and the Celsian High Command. Which means, Reed said slowly, all 6 eyes fixing on Winters, either the military has a leak. Or someone in the Celsian leadership wanted this to happen, Navarra finished, stopping dead in her tracks. The neural immunization. The power surge. It can't be coincidence. Hargrove looked up from her work. Ambassador, is there anyone in your government who would benefit from a war with Earth? Navarra's borrowed face darkened. High Commander Rozak has been advocating for military expansion for years. He believes humans are a threat to Celsian superiority. And what better way to justify invasion than a human violation of consciousness sanctity? Reed suggested. We need to contact General Walcott, Winter said, turning to the communications console. If this was engineered to trigger a war. The bunker shook as an explosion rocked the door. Dust and debris rained from the ceiling. Too late, Reed muttered, his alien hands moving faster now, finding unexpected dexterity in crisis. We're on our own. Another explosion, stronger this time. The blast door buckled slightly. How close are we? Winters demanded. Minutes away, Hargrove replied, connecting delicate quantum filaments. But we need that power surge to recreate the transfer conditions. Navarra stepped forward. I might know how to generate it. If my neural patterns were modified to create a resonance effect with human consciousness. You could trigger it deliberately, Reed finished, alien features lighting with understanding. By synchronizing your thought patterns with mine. It's risky, Hargrove warned. Without proper calibration, you could both suffer permanent neural damage. The door buckled further, the screech of metal filling the bunker. We don't have a choice, Reed said, positioning himself by the makeshift scanner. Ambassador, are you ready to return to your body? Navarra hesitated, looking down at the human hands she'd been learning to use. I've spent my entire life believing humans were primitive, inferior. But experiencing your existence from the inside. She met Reed's alien gaze with his own human eyes. Your limitations make you stronger. You fight harder because you know you can break. And your capabilities are extraordinary, Reed replied. Maybe both our species have something to learn from each other. The door gave way with a final explosive charge. Through the smoke, Orion's team poured into the bunker, weapons raised. Now! Reed shouted. Navarra pressed her human palm against Reed's alien one. Winters activated the jury-rigged scanner. Light engulfed them both, blinding, searing, as their consciousnesses once again reached for each other across the quantum void. The last thing Reed heard before blackness claimed him was Orion's voice, "Don't let them complete the transfer." Then everything disappeared in a supernova of quantum energy. Consciousness returned in fragments, sensations first. Familiar weight distribution. Familiar nerve endings. Familiar limitations. Jackson Reed opened his eyes, just two of them, and stared at his own hands. Human hands. His hands. It worked, he rasped, his voice hoarse but wonderfully, gloriously his own. Someone groaned nearby. Reed turned to see Ambassador Navarra's alien form sprawled across the floor, 6 limbs twitching as consciousness returned. Around them, the bunker lay in ruins, equipment scattered, walls scorched, and no sign of Orion's team. Ambassador? Reed called, struggling to his feet. His body felt strange after his time in the Celsian form, too heavy, too rigid, yet comfortingly familiar. Navarra's eyes opened in sequence, all 6 focusing on him with clarity that hadn't been present when he occupied her body. Reed. We succeeded. What happened to Orion? Reed asked, scanning the devastated bunker. The quantum surge, came Dr. Winter's voice from behind a toppled console. She emerged, supporting Professor Hargrove. When your consciousness is transferred back, it created an electromagnetic pulse that knocked out everyone in the vicinity. They won't stay unconscious for long, Hargrove warned, her exoskeleton sputtering with damaged circuitry. We need to move. Reed helped Navarra to her feet, all 6 appendages coordinating with fluid grace now that she was back in control. Can you move properly? Better than you managed in my body, she replied, but without malice. Her iridescent scales rippled with what Reed now recognized as Seltian amusement. The facility is compromised, Winters said, accessing a security terminal. Orion's people are everywhere, and our security forces are engaged on multiple fronts. We need to contact General Walcott, Reed insisted. And the Seltian High Command. If what we suspect is true, that this was engineered to trigger a war. The communications array is in the central hub, Winters replied. 3 levels up and past Orion's people. Navarra moved to the blasted doorway, peering into the corridor beyond. Then we go. I can move faster in my own body. I'll clear a path. Ambassador, Reed said, shocked by her willingness to help. Your diplomatic status was compromised the moment someone in my government altered my neural patterns, Navarra finished. Until I understand who betrayed me and why, our interests align. They moved through the facility like ghosts, Reed and the scientists following Navarra's lead. The ambassador's natural Seltian agility allowed her to scout ahead, neutralizing Orion's operatives with precise, non-lethal strikes. You're quite skilled for a diplomat, Reed observed after Navarra disabled 2 mercenaries with movements too fast for human eyes to track. All Seltian diplomatic representatives receive combat training, she replied. My species has not survived for millennia by being defenseless. They reached a maintenance shaft that would take them to the central hub. As Reed helped Hargrove into the narrow passage, Navarra suddenly stiffened, her head tilting as if listening to frequencies beyond human perception. What is it? Reed asked. Seltian biosignatures, she replied. Multiple contacts. My people are here. Winters checked her tactical display. No authorized Seltian delegation has been cleared for entry. Then they came without authorization, Navarra said grimly. Which means either they're here to rescue me. Or they're working with Orion, Reed finished. They climbed in tense silence, emerging into a utility corridor 1 level below the central hub. Ahead, they could hear the sounds of combat, energy weapons discharging, human voices shouting orders. Stay here, Navarra instructed, moving forward to investigate. Reed ignored her, following close behind. They reached an observation window overlooking the central hub. Below, chaos reigned. General Walcott's security forces engaged with both Orion's mercenaries and a squad of Seltian warriors, the latter distinguished by their black-silver scaling and military-grade weapons. Military caste, Navarra hissed. Ruzak's personal guard. They're fighting both sides, Reed observed. What do they want? The answer came as they watched a Seltian warrior secure a data terminal, downloading files at incredible speed. Another team was systematically destroying the facility's main neural scanner, the original device that had caused the consciousness transfer. They're erasing the evidence, Hargrove said, joining them at the window. Destroying any proof that your neural patterns were modified. And stealing our research, Reed added. With that data, they could weaponize consciousness transfer technology. Navarra's scales darkened with anger. Ruzak is planning something far worse than simple war. If he controls consciousness transfer technology, he could replace key Earth officials with Seltian operatives in human bodies. We need that data back, Winters said. And we need to warn both governments. Reed studied the battlefield below, noting the positions of the various combatants. The command center is there, he pointed. If we can reach it, we can broadcast to both Earth's military command and the Seltian ascendancy simultaneously. Through that crossfire? Hargrove asked skeptically. I have diplomatic override codes, Navarra said. If I can reach the command console, I can cut through any security protocols. Reed nodded. I'll create a diversion. The Seltians don't know we've switched back, they'll be looking for you in my body. Too dangerous, Navarra objected. They'll kill you on sight. Not if I surrender, Reed countered. They want the consciousness transfer technology. I'm the scientist who created it. Navarra studied him with all 6 eyes. Why would you risk yourself like this? Because I'm the one who started this mess, Reed replied simply. However, accidentally. Before she could argue further, the door behind them burst open. Dex Orion stood there, breathing heavily, his infiltration mask damaged to reveal one cold gray eye. How touching, he said, leveling an energy weapon at them. The human and the alien, working together. My clients will be fascinated by this development. Reed stepped forward, placing himself between Orion and the others. Your clients set this up, didn't they? Working with elements in the Celtian military to engineer a war. Very good, Doctor, Orion replied with a cold smile. War creates profitable opportunities. Especially when you control technology that can turn enemies into unwitting allies. He gestured with his weapon. Now, all of you will come with me. My extraction team is waiting. I think not, came a new voice. Behind Orion, a figure materialized, seemingly out of thin air. A Celtian warrior, but unlike the others, her scales shimmered with blue-green iridescence similar to Navarra's. Before Orion could turn, the Celtian struck with blinding speed, incapacitating him with a precise blow to the back of the neck. He crumpled to the floor, unconscious. Diplomat Navarra, the warrior said, bowing slightly. I am Telera, Celtian Intelligence Service. I've been tracking the conspiracy within our ranks for months. Navarra's posture relaxed slightly. You're not with Rozak. Rozak is a traitor to the Ascendancy, Telera replied. He and his human allies in your black market weapons consortium planned this conflict to seize power on both worlds. We need to broadcast this information, Reed insisted. Stop the war before it starts. Telera nodded. My team has secured an escape route to the communications array. But we must hurry, Rozak's forces have called for orbital support. Orbital support? Winters repeated, face paling. You mean? A Celtian warship has entered Earth's atmosphere, Telera confirmed grimly. They will glass this facility within 20 minutes to destroy all evidence of the conspiracy. Reed looked at Navarra, seeing newfound respect in her alien features. Time to run. Time to fight, she corrected, her voice harmonizing with determination. For both our worlds. As they followed Telera through the battle-scarred facility, alarms blared with increasing urgency. Overhead, the facility AI announced evacuation protocols. The final countdown to interstellar war had begun. Reed's mind raced. He had entered this disaster through scientific curiosity, a desire to understand alien consciousness. Now, he found himself racing to prevent the annihilation of 2 species who had barely begun to understand each other. And beside him ran the alien whose body he had briefly inhabited, whose consciousness had touched his own across the quantum void, now an ally in the desperate bid to save both their worlds from a war neither truly wanted.